Fantastic work there, Lee. I love it. Oh, man. Welcome, everybody, to week two's Wednesday preview of the DenCo Gridiron Show. My name is Steven Peters, riding co-pilot in the passenger seat with me today is Lee Livingston. Lee, what's up, man?
Not much. It's just, getting geared up for week two. Got some of the kinks out, ironed up some of the
we're rocking and rolling. We're learning as we go. That's what we do here. We are rough around the edges, and we don't apologize for it. Shout out to our boss man who provided some StreamYard swag. That's what I'm rocking right now. And I'm going to take those off because I am not a D-bag indoors. You were talking about royalty-free music. That is very close to a very notable rock song. The drum line that was playing there in that riff. So it's royalty-free adjacent.
Well, that's what night. Well, wait until you hear. Wait until y'all hear the outro.
Oh man, I can't wait to see what you have in store there.
Y'all should not put me in charge of music.
I love the work. I love the work that you're doing in terms of putting together that material. You're learning as you go as well. Still in classes and everything with Udemy and everything. Shout out to them. Great platform. We got a pretty interesting show today, I think. We're going to talk about what we saw with week one a little bit. Especially with Coach Dave Henigan from Denton Ryan. He'll be joining us here in a couple of moments, so that'll be fun to talk with him. We're also going to talk some of our top games, and of course our game of the week and where we'll be this week. And drop us a line at info@dencogridiron.com if you would like to contribute to the show, to the platform, whatever we're trying to do. You can also follow us on all the social platforms as our boss man creeps in and tries to take. Oh, he's putting on some lights because we are dimly lit in the studio. How do we forget that? We got all the things. I was
wondering why it was dark.
We got all the things ironed out except for the lighting. That's why that man behind the camera, you might see a finger flash up here or there, is the boss man.
Well, we were running just a tad behind today, and as he does that, I'm actually going to run over to grab my quick notebook because I left the notebook.
Well, I'm glad it's Coach Henigan leading us off. But as I was saying, info@dencogridiron.com. You can also follow us on all the socials, the YouTube.
It's over here.
The YouTube,
point at it.
Threads, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter X, at DenCo Gridiron. Man, it's week two, man. I'm still trying to catch up from week one. That's kind of what I told everybody with work. It's like, hey, how was your weekend? I'm still recovering from the first week of Texas high school football, which are late nights and early mornings. So, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you. I love being run ragged through the high school football season just because it's fun to, interact with other reporters like John Fields at the Denton Record Chronicle, people on the field, just kind of soak it all in. But yeah, like I said, we've got Dave Henigan calling us here shortly. We're going to talk with him about that new Braunfels win, talk about his little unknown hero who has already kind of been a journeyman, and see how they're thinking about him, as well as I want to talk to him about the scheduling that happened this week. So we'll get into all of that. Like you said, we'll talk about the top games, talk about game of the week, all that fun stuff.
Bye, John.
Bye, John. We love you. Okay, now that he's gone, we don't love him. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. All right. Like I said, we're waiting for Dave Henigan. But so you were talking about, as we continue to vamp here, waiting for Coach Henigan from Denton Ryan, you were talking about a bolt fell off of your car. Now, that's very ambiguous and also very alerting.
Oh, yeah. So I was just driving in, where was it? Somewhere here, just a little north of downtown, because I had to go pick up our credentials, which I do have, thankfully, with us.
Well, speaking of which, there is Coach Dave Henigan right there. So we'll get back to Lee's story here in a second. Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for joining us today on this fantastic Wednesday. We're live from the square. We've got Coach Dave Henigan from Denton Ryan. And man, we had a lot of questions. I immediately had some questions after last week's win, and I wanted to get you on since you have an open week. I wanted to talk to TJ as much as possible, but I'll start with that week one win against New Braunfels. Just talk about that second half comeback against New Braunfels. As you know, they've mounted mounted their own comeback and kind of echoing the last year. Just talk about that for us.
Well, it was a great win. First of all, I mean, the kids really battled, and New Braunfels is a good program. Not many people know about them up here, but really, good, solid 6A playoff program. And so really, both years gave us all we could handle, but I was really proud of our kids. You talk about a team that, you only have maybe 5 or 6 kids back on defense and 9 new starters on offense, and probably started 16, 17, maybe underclassmen, and to come back and then watch the game kind of slip away. Honestly, I mean, we had an opportunity to win it on the previous drive and just bleed out the clock, and we put it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it's not looking good. And then to finish out the game the way we finished it out, with certain kids cramping and other kids stepping up, and it was just a really good team win, and a great way to kind of set the tone for to build on for the rest of the season. Obviously, it's just one game, but it was a great win.
Yeah, you mentioned the cramping and kind of finding out about yourselves. I mean, it was a quintessential week 1, right?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, it was like 104 degrees when we kicked off,
mm-hmm.
and I thought our kids were in good condition, but we still had some, and then we had a couple ankles.
Yeah.
So we had a couple backups in on the final play, and Braden Mussett, who's one of our starting receivers, and plays quarterback too, but he was out for the majority of the fourth quarter, and so just had a lot of kids step up, which is important.
Yeah, you alluded to it earlier about having some kids who hadn't played at the varsity level. You said 16 to 17 new starters. Just what did you find out in totality of your team, just as they kind of had to learn by fire in week 1?
Well, I mean, good teams find a way to win, and so I found out that we got a chance to be a good team. Coming in, we felt good about our kids, even though they're young, and it's an opportunity, for the next group of, Raiders to put their name on the map. That's how we look at it. So we knew we had a chance to be good. We just hadn't played yet, right? And so because these kids won a lot of games on the sub-varsities and that sort of thing. So I think what we learned is that we have a chance to be a good football team, and got a lot of pieces that are good, and then we got plenty to work on, and so, which is pretty typical of a week 1 game, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned it, the last play. We were watching replays and Twitter posts of the Hobbs to Melendez touchdown with 2 seconds left. Was there ever any doubt about going for the win there, or settling for the game tying field goal when it's 2 seconds, you're at the 2 because of a PI in the end zone?
Well, yes and no. So it was crazy because we threw a fade. They had called timeout, I believe. No, we had called timeout the previous play because there was only 7 seconds left on the clock, and so in that situation, you have a shot at the end zone, but you can't scramble. You can't waste any time. It's a catch and throw type situation. Keep it outside. You either catch it or it's incomplete, and then you kick a field goal. Well, we got it off and got a penalty. Well, there was some confusion on the refs' part. So initially they spotted it like on the 7-yard line. So I ran I got the field goal team going, but I was arguing with them at the same time as we got the field goal team that it should be marked on the 2-yard line. Well, then they marked it on the 2, and so I called the offense back out there. Well, then they moved it back again to the 7. So we got the field goal team going again. Anyway, so we didn't know if we were kicking a field goal or going for it, but to answer your question, if it was on the 2-yard line, we were going for it all the way. There was no hesitation. We already knew what play we were calling. So in that respect, there was no hesitation, but we just couldn't. The officials were having a big conversation about where to spot the ball, which caused a little bit of hesitation, I guess, on our sideline as to what to do, because we weren't going to go for it from the 7. We were going to try to send it to overtime.
Absolutely.
But
Now,
from the 2, it was a different animal. We were going to go for the win all the way.
yeah, I'm sure the analytics card was on fire as you guys were going back and forth between 2 and 5 and trying to figure out what play to run from each or how that was all going to transpire. We got Dave Henigan again on the call with us to lead off the Wednesday show here for week 2. Coach of the Denton Ryan Raiders, who are 1-0 with a thrilling win over New Braunfels last week.
All right, Coach, I think on to the kind of what I think a lot of people are going to want to know about is TJ Hobbs, who played a massive role in y'all's game this week. Exactly who is this kid and kind of where did he come from exactly? Because I know he's kind of bounced around kind of all over prior to ending up with you guys.
He moved here over the summer, towards the end of the summer. But TJ's a good kid who seems to have some savvy about him. It's pretty tough to come in as late as he did and to end up playing, so he's got a little bit of savvy about him, and kind of, you don't go out there and, play. He didn't play well in the first quarter, to be real honest with you. And then I put Braden in, which was the plan all along, regardless of how he had played, was to put Braden in too. And will be the plan moving forward, really. But to settle down and come back and play pretty well in the second half, and then to be a big part of that drive to end the game and make some plays, I just think he's got a little bit of savvy about him and a little bit of toughness and I guess mental toughness. But seems to be a good kid, works hard, he made some plays.
So I'm kind of curious, when you talk about him being savvy and tough, where do you think that maybe that comes from? Does that part of, him being a part of a few different teams? And then what exactly is it, that savvy, when you talk about that, what does that mean to you?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I think he's probably got good parents. I know his dad was in the Army, and so we're a career military guy, and so maybe some of that comes from him, the discipline and the toughness and that sort of thing. And he's I think he does things on the side, as far as working with maybe a coach or we're doing a 7-on-7 on the side. You can develop some of that in those venues or whatever you want to call them as well. But I don't know. He's just got something about him. A lot of times when you have a quarterback that there's this undefined quality that you look for quarterbacks, and it's again, it's not something you can kind of describe, but he seems to have it. I don't know. It's one game, so it's a very small sample size, I guess. But he did a lot of good things. Seemed, like I said, is a good kid. Seems like a leader. And that position's critical.
So you mean as a head coach, you're not going to have a knee-jerk reaction and claim state title run after one game?
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this for a long time, so no.
Fair enough.
We got a long way to go for sure, and certainly he does. And but like I said, to play as well as he did, and a lot of these kids, honestly, that are playing in their first varsity football game, I was real proud of the way they responded.
Yeah. So kind of one thing I kind of wanted to finalize here before I let Steven take on this next question is because I know you've already kind of talked about TJ Hobbs' performance. I just wanted to say, my first year working here at the DenCo Gridiron, I got to come out to a couple of practices at Ryan, and I love the way you kind of run things and stuff. And I really do appreciate you letting me come out and do that, because you invited me out on the field and were really just gracious and letting me come in, do some video in the weight room and stuff. So I actually just wanted to say thank you for that, because I've kind of found a passion for video and all these other things. Yeah. So I actually just wanted to say thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we love what y'all do, and certainly, a lot of people that are trying to, whether it's y'all or the Dave Campbell's people or whatever, trying to promote high school football, in Texas and in Denton County for y'all, obviously that's a really good thing. So our doors are open.
Yeah, and we'll definitely tell Steve Gamble that you don't like him the most when I see him next. So shout out Steve Gamble, newspaper Steve. So kind of moving forward for this week. Last year at this time, you were supposed to play Bryant from Arkansas, and that game was canceled because of weather. What happened this year? Did they not want to try again, or think plans fall through? What happened?
That was a 1-year deal, and so we never had a week 2 game. And as it turned out last year, obviously you want to be playing, but having that extra week right before district, honestly, is pretty nice. So we did not look for a game this summer. We did not look for one, but we just we didn't have one on the schedule.
Okay, so you actually just took me to my next question: is if you guys were trying to find something to fill the void because maybe Bryant didn't want to return the game, or whatever the situation was. I wasn't quite aware of that situation. The teams reach out though, wanting to fill week 2 for you, or did you just kind of say, "No, we're not interested at all," and find somebody else?
No, I didn't have anyone reach out to me.
Oh, interesting. That's okay. So you guys are getting the sock and Duncanville treatment where nobody wants to play y'all.
No, I don't think we are. I just think that there's probably not a lot of people looking for games. And so I don't think we are. I don't think anybody after maybe a few years ago we might have gotten that treatment, but after last year, I don't think we would have gotten that treatment.
Fair enough, Coach.
Doc and Duncanville are winning state championships, and we lost in the first round, so I don't think we get that treatment. And we might have gotten it a few years back.
Fair enough.
But not presently.
Fair enough. So players, coaches within football teams are very much creatures of habit. So last year, you had week 1, and you were supposed to play week 2, and that fell apart. So you were preparing for a game, and then you had week 3. This year, as you've talked about, you have week 1, nothing for week 2. So how hard is that to kind of keep that edge, that energy, without overdoing it when you go on, off, and then back on?
I don't think it's hard. I mean, our routine's been exactly the same. With the new kind of the UIL pushing the wet bulb and the athletic directors following suit. We've been practicing in the morning all along this year, and so we've just kept the same routine, except for today. We went like a normal Monday, Tuesday, where we might have backed off a little bit on Wednesday, but we went 6:30 in the morning again this morning, and had an unbelievable practice, probably the best practice we've had all year, even though we don't have a game this week. So it's whatever. I mean, it's all how you look at it. Obviously, again, we ideally you're playing, but we're not, and so we used it as an opportunity to work on ourselves. And we've had 3 really good practices where we've addressed some things that showed up in the first game that are going to be beneficial to us moving forward. And so, again, I just think it's all how you look at it. You have to take advantage of whatever's in front of you. And our kids are, they're young enough; they don't know any different. They're just going to try and do what we ask them to do. And so, again, had great practices. We'll have another one tomorrow, and then we'll back off on Friday, and then we're right back on it and into our district season, which is the most important season part of the year anyway.
It's amazing how early it is for you guys with 9 teams in the district that you have to start in week 3 of a 11-week schedule before getting the playoffs and everything. Last question I have for you, and again, we appreciate your time this afternoon, Coach Henigan. I guess you kind of alluded to it about not wanting to play week 2. I'm assuming that there was no talk of trying to fill the void between week 7 and 9 this year.
No. I'm not playing a non-district game in the middle of district. Not to mention, I don't think anybody else would want to do that anyway.
That's fair. I didn't know, maybe like one of those rogue, whatever they called schedules for independent schools might have wanted to play you guys just to get some more attention their way.
No, we hadn't had any of that. We're going to play 9 games. We played 9 last year. My predecessor played 9 one year. We'll be all right.
Fair enough. Well, Coach, we definitely do appreciate your time this afternoon and talking with us, being our first guest of the 2023 season. Like we said, and the coaches said, Ryan is off this week, and they begin their district calendar next week in week 3. Again, Coach, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, you got it. Thank you.
That was Coach Dave Henigan with us. Man, he's just a forthright coach. Some coaches will hold a lot of things to the vest, and talking about Bryant from last year and not wanting it was a 1 year thing and not wanting to fill the void. Others would have been like, yeah, we talked about it and we just, didn't decide to move on anything, or, it kind of played a little more coy. But I love Henigan and his just forthrightness. And we love you, Steve Gamble. If you're watching, heart emojis to you, sir. Gotta love a good coach conversation. All right, man, let's get to the top games. We've got a few of them this week. There are a lot of close games projected according to either Massey ratings or DCTF or whomever your flavor is. We got some games that are pretty, I don't know, lopsided looking, but let's get into them. What you got for us, Lee?
All right. So for me on this particular week, my first game on the list is actually going to be Lake Dallas and Frisco Centennial, which I figure we're both going to have that on the list. The reason it's on mine is Frisco Centennial, decent team. But it's more Lake Dallas than anything. This is just a team that I'm excited to go out. I talked about it in the preseason show. I want to go out. I want to see what Bortnum can do. I want to see what this offense is going to look like. Because I think that's where the money is, and I'm biased. We've talked about it plenty of times. I like points. I want to see, how's that defense look in general. But I think this is it's an indoor game, and on turf. Like, how fast paced is this offense? How many points can they put up? Like this, I mean, that's really all this is. There's really not a lot to it other than that for me. Like, I just want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Bortnum was pretty stellar against Greenville last week. 15 of 21 for 258 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Pretty phenomenal performance. And I think that was just a good warm-up game for them. What I really want to see is a little bit more impact from Dylan Broccoli or Brockle. I'm pretty sure it's Broccoli. We had 14 carries, which was a team high, but only went for 68. So they probably geared for him a little bit with Greenville, and hopefully he can step up and perform like he did last year against Centennial. But that game was at home. So it'll be good. Like you said, it's indoors. It should be just a faster game in general. And Centennial won as well. So they're a team kind of up on the come up over there from that district. So we'll see and how well Lake Dallas.
Frisco teams in general always feel a little bit like a toss up outside of a few of them, kind of like Emerson. It's like you never, I don't know, like there's so many schools over there. You could throw a rock and hit one, and it's like, oh man, they're really good this year.
I'm pretty sure there's like 47 high schools in Frisco now.
There's more schools over there than the rest of the state. I don't know.
I don't.
The juxtaposition between Frisco and Allen.
Well, what's funny is like there's a school. So when you go on 121 toward Allen or toward Melissa or McKinney, whatever it is, and you go off of Exchange, I think just south of Exchange or just south of 121 on Exchange, they identified another site as like school 15 for there. And like literally just down, like 2 miles down the road is Allen High School's stadium. So it's like they are taking every inch of space the ISD is that's available to them, and technically Frisco, and claiming it for another school. It's ridiculous. But yeah, the ISD of one and then the ISD of many and everything. It's ridiculous. But yeah, no, Frisco Centennial I think is a little bit of a team on the come up, and it should be a good game. It's projected to be a close one this week between the two, with I think Centennial being a 1.5 point favorites at home. So it'll be interesting to see. Both teams scored 38 in week 1. Centennial gave up 29 in their win over Richardson. So we don't really know what they are, but I expect points to be had if they're both the over under is 62.5.
Yeah. All right. So on to my next game. This is actually kind of one I didn't expect to have this coming into, but Lake Highlands at Flower Mound. Flower Mound got the 38-31 win over Fossil Ridge, who was Fossil Ridge missed the playoffs by one game last year. And Flower Mound doesn't have a lot of players coming back from their team last year. Graduated, I think it was 48 seniors. And Yale Erdman had a pretty dadgum good game last week. 20 for 29 passing, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have the 1 interception. Nothing necessarily in the box score is you're not just looking at it and going wild about it. If you're looking at the Jaguar box score here from last week, but they kind of controlled the time possession. But I'm looking at it. Anytime I look at this box score, it just feels like they had to have been really efficient. We don't have those metrics and types of things, but when you lose the total yards and such type of game and you win with 1 turnover, and it's not like Fossil Ridge committed that many penalties. They were 4 for 32. I mean, they just played really clean football, and I'm excited to see what Brian Basil and company are going to go out there and do against Lake Highlands, who is a team that was 8-3 a year ago. Like
Correct.
and they graduated a lot of the seniors as well. However, the guys that are back was the core of the team. So I want to know what exactly Flower Mound is, and then this is a team I want to keep an eye on through the rest of the year, because how good could Flower Mound be? Could they push for a playoff spot? And going into next season, even, they're going to have a lot of players coming back. So
yeah, depending on how well they perform this year, they could be pushing for that 4th seed. It's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. You've got definitely. Louisville, you've got Coppell, you're going to have Hebron in there, but it's that last spot. And
that's more of what I'm looking at. Yeah.
And then 6A, you never know, who's going to beat up who, or who's going to get injured and everything like that. And, be a huge fall for that team based on who they lose. One quick correction. It was Jake Watson, not Yale Erdman.
Oh, it was
the quarterback.
Well, that's what I thought it was. Jake Watson. That's what everyone had written down preseason in the box score. It was Erdman everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, Erdman's who the Dallas Morning News had in here.
Are you sure you're not looking at 2021?
I might be.
Because this game, this was
2022
or 2022.
I'm probably looking at the wrong box score.
No, shout out Jake Watson, who had a really good game last week against Fossil Ridge. I think 224 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That sounds more like what I was reading last night.
Hey man, it happens.
I was like, this does not look like the box score I read last night.
It happens to the best of us. But yeah, no, Flower Mound with a close win in week 1. Urban, he would, or not Urban. Now you got me saying it. Watson would have been one of those top 4 players of the week if there weren't 2 other quarterbacks who had just a little bit better. I mean, Watson performed well. So we'll see. You said Flower Mound's young. They've got talent. Just how well does that mesh with their existing, with the new guys and that haven't played and the returners this year. Yeah. So that'll be an exciting one. Just to degenerate this one for everybody, Lake Highlands or Flower Mound, is favored by 7.5, and the over under is 63.5. So some points will be there. I mean, it's high school football. Points are going to be had. You'd have to either go up against a really stout defense, shout out Louisville, or be really inept on offense. And I'm not going to name names to not get into the 20s or 30s pretty regularly in high school sports.
Yeah, and Lake Highlands bringing back, I think it's Deontay Dean. Is it Deontay Dean or Green? I think it's Dean. Stout running back. So I think that's the other part of this is equation, saying how Flower Mound can play against a pretty good running game.
For sure.
That's always a good question. That's always, I think, the big question in high school football is seeing how teams handle that physical side of another game, because that's where later in the play, when you do get into the playoffs and stuff, it's like if you can match up physically, that's where it's a big part of it.
Yeah,
handle that part.
But it's also right now very hard. Kind of like Coach Henigan alluded to really start thinking about playoffs at this moment. You're still finding out a lot about your team. And
I know. This is where I the fan takes over and you're reading into it's.
It's the knee jerk reaction fan.
It's like I want to know. Like it's just you're piecing everything together and
state championship. Everybody's winning state, or nobody's winning state. That's either how it works, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. What you got next on the list?
All
Because
right.
this is one of my favorites, and I think we were debating on if we should go to it or not. It's just a sucky location.
The next two games on this list were very close to being the game of the week, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Louisville at Highland Park. These are two good teams. One of them I think is a tier, maybe 2 tiers above the other, and that would be Louisville. I think is in that couple tiers above, and that's no slouch to Highland Park. They are very well coached, and that's part of the reason I think even though Highland Park has lost a lot of players and they don't have that many starters coming back, they smacked Marcus pretty well.
Yeah,
it's also at home for Highland Park, and they've got a fan base that's going to show up, and it's in a tight, cramped field. Like it's
Highlander Stadium
you're gonna have to deal with some fans, and that's part of Louisville. It was a couple years ago. This was Coach Odell's first season, I believe, that I was at when they lost the Battle of the Axe. I think it might have been his first season, and that was at Marcus. And those Marcus fans, they were loud, they were rowdy, and it felt like that might have kind of contributed to a little bit of what hurt their offense, because it felt like I remember there being some more penalties than normal.
Sure, for sure. Highland Park definitely does have one of the better home field advantages in the state, and it's not the biggest of stadiums either, because they don't have the space for it. They're right smack dab in the middle of North Dallas or Highland Park, but they've got talent. The year in and year out, there's talent regardless of who is quarterbacking, whether it's
Warren Peck.
Yeah, I know he's the quarterback now. I'm talking about the previous years, the most recent years. Just guys who. Chandler Morris, is that right? That sounds right. Chandler Morris.
That sounds correct. And then there was also the Stephen Jones.
John Stephen Jones or something like that.
Quarterback.
They've always got some good quarterback play. I remember their most recent quarterback, he was already signed to Hawaii before even playing a varsity snap. So they've got talent. I wanted to say this last year about Louisville in this game. I thought they were a far and ahead cut above Highland Park. That was not the case. And Louisville lost by 17, 31-14 last year.
Yes.
It's going to be a tight one. I think Louisville is slight favorite. Highland Park are slight favorites at 5.5 points. And I almost feel like that's just because it's the name Highland Park and it's at home. I think that carries a lot of cachet in this game. There's question marks though, and I never got answered from Odell or couldn't get a hold of Byron. Are you injured? I mean, is he injured? He only had 2 carries, 1 for and 4 yards, and that 4 yards was a touchdown run in the second quarter, early in the second quarter. And then it seemed like he was done. So we don't know if Byron's injured, but that defense is going to get tested. I think Tony Lewis and Kube is going to be, or in Cuba, is going to be highly targeted at, not because he's bad, just because there's a lot of weapons, and I think he plays slot to outside, mostly slot. So we'll see. But I think it'll be an interesting game. I wanted to go to it. I hate going to Highland Park, not the school, nothing against the Scots. Shout out Uncle Fraz. But that just location sucks to get to. And I don't want to have to go through there in the middle of the rush hour or whatever to get to Highlander Stadium. So, but this will be a good one. I think it's going to be on Texan Live. I think. I'm
not 100% sure. I would say if you live closer than we do, because it's a pain to drive I-35 all the way down there. If you live close enough, I think it's a game absolutely worth going to in person, because I think it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere
for sure.
So go check it out live if you can in person. For me, this is going to be a game. I think that Louisville is going to go out and just pound Highland Park. I know that's dumb.
I feel like a bet payoff is about to come up right now, because you think it's going to be
I think that this is a Louisville team that is a year older and a year better, and they're just gonna. And Highland Park has 4 total starters returning, and now Warren Peck is a good player. He had a great week last week, and a big thing that stood out is I think he had 60 rushing yards to go along with I think it was 180 some odd pass. Like, this is a dual threat guy, and if I'm not mistaken, they said I don't remember exactly how big he is, but he's not a tiny guy.
Oh, so he's not like
no.
the quarterbacks of the last few years.
I think someone said that this is like the biggest quarterback. I think it might have been Dave Campbell's their season preview stuff had him. I think they said that he's probably the biggest quarterback they've had in a really long time. Yeah, they have him listed at 6'5", 220.
Wow.
So he's a big guy. So I am very, this might be a dumb prediction. It's just I think Louisville plays a very good brand of football, and now their defense is the part that it's going to be interesting to see because their D line is pretty new, but that secondary is really stout. So maybe they're able to force the Peck to run a little bit more. I don't know.
I wonder. I have no insight about this situation, but over the summer they had a quarterback, Parker Thompson, who came from South Lake Carroll and put up massive numbers in their spring game. So I don't, was it summer? Yeah, summer. So I don't know if maybe it was the spring. I don't know if he's injured or if they were holding him out for this game potentially. But I mean, he's a kid who can put up some stupid numbers as well. So if he's in there and he's as good as everybody says he was, because the Dallas Morning News back in June was saying he's going to be the starting quarterback this coming season and had already committed to Air Force and all this stuff. So maybe that's an X factor that we have to pay attention to as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's just going to be a good game in general.
Overall, it's just two really good. It's two really good coaches, two really good programs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot else to.
It'll be fun. I just wish I wish it was a little bit closer because we probably would have gone to that one instead.
Yeah. All right. Fourth on this list is going to be Aubrey Anna. Aubrey is a team that I am just excited for in general. Emerson Cagle is an exciting guy. And then on the defensive side, they've got some talented players here at Aubrey with a guy like, I think it's Xavier McCoy, who's playing both ways, offensive, defensive line.
Shout out Xavier McCoy, player of the week in defense this past week. One of the four, but yes.
Yeah, there's a couple different guys, and I think it's Riley Heron was was noted in a couple of preseason articles.
Randall Sostek,
just a monster. So at the end of the day, Aubrey in the trenches, pretty good. They did lose to Sunnyvale to open the season up. Sunnyvale, pretty
5A team.
Yeah, they're a good team. So it's not. When I was looking through their previous records, they're a team that they'll have some down years where they're around 500, but then they'll have years where they're 11-1 in 2019.
Yep.
So it's a good solid program that you're going to lose to. Brock Temple's had plenty of playing time. Emerson Cagle's healthy now. LeBraylon Bell, like you noted, I believe is he out for the year? What was the?
I believe that was the word that was passed along to me that over the summer he was lost for the season. Probably some ligament tear in his knee. So that's an unfortunate loss for Aubrey, but again, the way Aubrey plays, it's a huge running back by committee room. Like we talk about, you'll hear the generals speak of the quarterback room or the wide receiver room or whatever. The running back room is an auditorium. I mean, that's how many running backs they use. It was 23 last year, 23. So, and one of those was LeBraylon Bell. Now he was one of the better ones. Don't get me wrong. And it sucks to lose a kid like that, but I think Aubrey will be fine there. It's really just trying to get that passing game going a little bit more. It's as opposed to it being a gadget play, they've got to find a healthier balance, I think. I'm not one to question Coach Ivy's MO, but if teams know that you're going to be run heavy, it's easier to gear for it than it is to for that balanced team. So we'll see. Anna is a really good team. Really good. They're ranked number 3 in 4AD1. Could easily challenge for a state title this year if all things go right. They might run into China Spring again in the playoffs, who they lost to last year. But this will be a good, really, I think this will be a better gauge of where Aubrey is and what they have to get to for the rest of the season for this one. The Sunnyvale one, that's just, it's week one. Henigan mentioned it. Hell, we've had our own week one snafus and whatever. And getting that rust off and hitting somebody else other than your own teammate for now regularly, that changes things. So week 2, I think, is when the real season begins. And I think Aubrey's going to find out a lot about themselves against a state title contender.
Yeah, and that's kind of why that's partly, since you bring up the point of Anna being a legit state title contender. Aubrey, just off the cuff, preseason wise, to me, it's like they felt like one of those underdog teams that could make that run because they made the deep run to did they get past the regional final? I don't remember. I don't think they got.
They
to
lost
the regional,
in the
regional final. All right. And that's why I thought this is an underdog team, because they're bringing back, to me, what's the most important position in oftentimes in high school football is the offensive line and defensive line. Unless it's, obviously quarterback is probably, if you have that star power quarterback, then that's probably the most important. But I think Aubrey is a team where, depending how this game goes, we could very well be sitting here saying, okay, Aubrey, like you're on the rest of the state's radar, not just here at DenCo Gridiron, where we love you, but the rest of the state's putting you on that radar if you can give Anna like a real good run for their money. And that's why this game, to me, was one of those other ones that we were thinking like we might be needing to go to this one.
When we looked at the schedule last week and talking as we were leaving the Melissa Stadium, the new one, we can talk about that for a hot second if we want to as well. But we were like, all right, there's 3 obvious games that we need to look at. It's Denton Geyer and Aledo, Aubrey and Anna, and then Louisville and Highland Park. And then we just kind of, spitball back and forth. And then we finally texted on Sunday night. Yeah, I'm thinking this next game that we'll get into as the game of the week, being Aledo and Geyer. But yeah, 100% valid point about if Aubrey pulls it off, okay, they put teams on notice. We're not to be messed with. Forget what happened in week 1. That was a fluke loss. We're legit. So we'll see. All
right. So real quick, any games that you kind of want to make people aware of real quick before we get into this, that game of the week?
Yeah, I have 5 or 4, sorry, because we've already mentioned Louisville and Highland Park. So just real quick, Braswell and Fossil Ridge. Fossil Ridge lost to Flower Mound by 7. For Braswell, can they bounce back and get Kent Laster's first win as the program's second head coach? Played well against Eaton, just couldn't find the way to stop them and pull out the W. It was a close loss, but I think based off of where we saw them last year, it's a good step forward for 2023. Next one, kind of similar, is Denton and Chisholm Trail. It looks like a close game. Question I have is, can Lawson Floyd and that offense bounce back from last week? It was rough going against Newman Smith. We saw near cut to lead the show. They kind of struggled, man. They had one good play to Kip Mongo, I think is who it was.
Yeah, it was Kip Mongo that had the touchdown.
68-yard touchdown, and that was about it. It was hard to kind of watch. So we also want to see what corrections have been made on defense. So this is pretty much an annual rivalry between these two, Denton and Chisholm Trail. It's on the road, so we'll see how that one shakes out. Same thing with Sanger and Ferris. Kind of like Braswell, it's a close loss. It should be a close game this week. Sorry, it was a big loss. Should be a close game this week. But can they turn it around against Ferris, who they beat last year 35-24, and get Chad Rogers his first win? And then the last one, you had them on your list, and then you kind of took it off just because you didn't feel like Episcopal Dallas was that great.
No offense, Episcopal Dallas. I'm sure you're all wonderful.
A couple years ago, when Winton took over, and maybe the year prior as well, they were really good. I mean, it was a team that you don't want to mess with them out of the SPC. Not so much now, but it looks like it's a projected close game. I can see Liberty easily dominating this one, just the way they did against Prestonwood, a ranked team according to DCTF last week. We'll see. I just want to have eyes on the Taps. We don't want to forget our Taps brethren down there with Coram Dio and Liberty, Frisco Liberty, obviously Prestonwood and Argyle Liberty Christian. So yeah, those are the 4 games. Braswell versus Fossil Ridge. Can they bounce back? Can Denton bounce back against Chisholm Trail? Can Sanger bounce back against Ferris? Got a theme going on here. And then can Liberty do the same thing again to Episcopal School of Dallas out of the SPC? That's the Southwest Preparatory Conference. And before we get into the DenCo Gridiron game of the week, again, if you ever want to contribute, or if you want to be a sponsor for the DenCo Gridiron show or for the DenCo Gridiron platform, you can email us at info@dencogridiron.com. You can also email myself, Steven, at DenCo Gridiron, or John Piper at DenCo Gridiron. But just reach out to info. That's probably easiest to remember. You can also follow us on social at DenCo Gridiron. That's going to be on everything except Snapchat, because as adults you shouldn't be using Snapchat anymore. That's for little kids. And what else? I am
S Peters on Twitter, and then you can find me as
put some respect on my name.
I am Speeders.
I am Speeders.
Oh, okay.
I am Speeders. Yes, I am Speeders on Twitter. That's the only one I mess with. Well, I'm on Threads and I'm on Blue Sky and everything, but nobody's on there. So
yeah, I don't know anyone that uses those. I think that's like
somebody. I'm the one person you know.
Guy.
Hey, I've got those invite codes. Hit me up if you want to be on Blue Sky. I've got 6.
You can find me at space_cowboy2049 on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, that's not a mouthful at all.
No, it's not supposed to be. I don't want everyone to find me.
All right, man. Hit the theme, Expo. We got our DenCo Gridiron game of the week.
Game of the week.
The game
there we
of
go.
The week.
Get a voiceover person to do that next time.
John, where are you at?
As we should have had John do it.
Yeah.
All righty, folks. The game of the week is.
We're stupid.
I mean, we are. We're children. We're talking about football. All right. It's Alito at Geyer, obviously.
Yes.
Process elimination.
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's also just a game of convenience too. It's close by. I think it's going to be an electric energy in the crowd. I could be dead wrong. I don't know how well Alito is going to travel to Geyer. I did reach out to Heim. That game did get pushed back by 30 minutes from 7 to 7:30. And I'm assuming it's because of what the weather was showing early on in the week. Because it's like, I think approaching the low hundreds for Friday. But then as I looked this morning, it was in the mid to high 90s. So I didn't know if it was maybe like Texan Live, I think, who was broadcasting the game, wanted to push it back just to kind of stagger overload or something. I think
earlier in the week it was showing like 105, so it doesn't surprise me that they pushed it back. And I'm in favor of the late start time after, like, even though I got home late from Melissa, I will say I really enjoyed getting home. You know, I'm not getting home late, but I enjoyed the late start time to these two games that we went to this last week.
Well, yeah. I mean, with that sun setting behind the press box, it can cover the entire field. It happened at Stanridge. That game started at 7:30, and then Melissa and Argyle started at 8. And pretty much by the time kickoff happened, the entire field was covered in shadow. So it definitely helps there for the west facing fans on the east side of the stadium. Kind of sucks for you for maybe an hour or so because that sun's right in your face and your butts is scalding on the metal bleachers, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, Alito and Geyer. Alito, the returning state champion out of 5A D1 after their first year in that classification. Geyer, number 9. They didn't move up because everybody else above them won as well for last week. But this looks to be like a blowout according to all the projections. And I know you're not a big projection guy. I am, just so I have some sort of basis in terms of how I'm going to talk about the game. It's just it feels like with, especially at least early in the year, high school football, like Texas high school football, we don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's just there's so much turnover, and it's not like at college football where at least like I can look at a recruit's.
Yeah, we don't have 3-star 8th graders coming in.
I don't know,
to play.
Like, and then in the NFL, like, there's so much more. Like,
you have all those advanced analytics.
Yeah,
and usually the teams stay put.
I'm guessing here, like, well, the JV team at this place was really good last year.
Right.
Like that's my knowledge.
Well, right. And what does that even mean, though? I mean, yeah, you can be really good, but like, they go to the varsity level and they're playing against 3-year starters, they could be really bad that one year. So it's a crapshoot. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, while Geyer is favored big, 14 and 18 points respectively, depending on who you follow or what you read, I don't think it's going to be that big. I think last year, because of how star-studded Geyer was, they were just able to overwhelm a quasi-inexperienced Alito team that was working in new talent. They had lost JoJo Earl, McClellan. No, he was the year prior, but they working a new quarterback in Haas Haney. And as that year went on, he blossomed into a legit dual threat quarterback and led them to a state title. So I don't see a 44-14 game again this year that was on the road. I honestly see it being like a touchdown or less, and I hope it's a close one after last week's kind of soul-sucking performances that we saw. I want a game that we're having. For me, I'm having to rewrite headlines and my story, and you're then trying to cobble together a different
as long as
feel of video.
As long as it's a DenCo Gridiron team that's performing well, I don't care how the game turns out. Like, that's honestly where I'm at.
You are such a photographer.
I want to watch the teams from our area kick everyone's butt. No, if I like, look, I know you're like, I like other teams. It's just like, I'm very biased. I'm open about it. Like, not gonna lie. I want all the, like, at the end of the season when it's playoff time, if it was just Denton area teams, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
That would make our jobs a lot easier for sure.
Fun.
But yeah, no, it's. I think this would be a good one. I'm hoping for a good one. I don't really care who wins.
Yeah, it's always fun when it's a tight game. So.
For sure, yeah. It's just the sidelines are. Is that a wild? Oh, that's right. That's right. Mr. Geyer over here, the founder of the school, is flashing up the C or the G Wildcat.
No, it's a Wildcat. That's our logo.
Well, but it should be upside down, like the little.
No, it's not.
Yeah, look at it. Look at the logo. It doesn't look like this. It looks like this.
I guess technically, but like,
I just put a flaw. I just poked a hole into your entire whatever hand gesture. No, I get it. It's cool. It's
I can also do this.
But no, it should be a good game. Josiah Martin had a big game last year. Geyer had a slow start last week against Rockwall Keith, and then they kind of put it on him. So we'll see how things shake out. I don't think Geyer can afford that slow start though this week.
No, definitely not. Not against a team like Alito. When you play quality opponents like Alito, it hurts when you get out to a slow start. We saw it last year against DeSoto, getting out to a slow start. Man. That's where it came back to bite them. They had a tendency to get out to slow starts, and it finally caught up to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it was the Westlake game the year before in that state title game. This is where non-district to me is the most interesting. Is these powerhouse teams that are going to be at the end of the playoffs. These games matter in the sense of, like, can you get out to that fast start against another powerhouse? Because this is who you have to beat in the regional final, in the state semifinal, or in that state title game. If you're looking slow early in the game, you need to fix that throughout district play.
Yeah.
Because let's say they start out slow and maybe they win this game, they scrap through it and win it. I don't want to see Geyer starting slow, and even if they win 42-14 against they just run through district, they crush everyone like they did a year ago.
Back in your mind.
I don't want to see those. Yeah, it's always going to be in the back of my mind that they started slow in that game. Now, if they're not starting slow throughout the rest of district play and they're just beating people by halftime, then it's different.
Yeah, but it also creates that false sense of illusion. Like last year, you got to against a very vaunted defense, and they weren't able to let you pick yourself up. They kept that foot on your neck the entire time. I think one thing to kind of punctuate what you're saying is that one week starting slow, that's correctable. 2 weeks you're starting to develop.
That's the part that that's the part where it's that I was trying to kind of that's my
2 weeks it starts to become a habit. Right.
Yeah.
And then it now becomes your theme for the season. Hey, you started slow. You're averaging, 10 points in the first quarter, or only 8.5 points in the first quarter. Then you're having to rely on scoring 28 in the second half, or 21 in the third quarter, whatever the stupid number might be. That's not a recipe for success. So hopefully Geyer, identified things kind of like Henigan alluded to against New Braunfels for his new guys, and they're able to correct them and start fast. So it'll be interesting. Like we said, that game is on Texan Live this week, but come out and you support Geyer or Alito, whoever you want to. Or if you're a Ryan fan and you don't have anything to do on a Friday night, come be a unbiased observer if you can. I don't know.
Support the other Denton team. Ryan and Geyer aren't in the same district anymore.
They're not, but I think there's still some hated rivalry.
There's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of one. It's not like it is like when they're in the same. It's kind of like the Wichita Falls game that's no longer happening anymore.
Oh yeah,
it's not the same if you're not in the same district. Like it doesn't. It's not the same like that.
I don't know, man. Like you tell me that Louisville and Marcus are no longer in the same district, and then they schedule a yearly meeting. There's going to be.
If it was every year, but they're not going to schedule that game every year.
Well, they did a couple years ago. Like before this last realignment, they played 2 years in a row out of district here at Collins, and they were close games. Do you not remember?
Louisville, Marcus?
No, not Markins. No, I'm sorry.
Denton,
Geyer, and Ryan.
Ryan
Sorry.
and Geyer did.
Yes, I didn't
remember, and that
them
happened while I was in high school as well. And it's really fun and exciting, but it's not. If they had done that every year, I think it keeps that rivalry juice there. But it's like it being non-district also. I feel like it just sucks a little bit of the juice out. But now it's nice. Actually, I think we did play in district, which. That's a different beast
for sure, because that was usually probably for the district title, right?
Oh yeah,
for sure. Oh man, we did it. Hey, look at us. We actually made it a whole hour.
I know.
Surprising. I could probably talk high school football all day and everything if I was given the opportunity, but nobody wants to listen to that. Any parting shots before we wrap it up, man?
I guess the one parting shot.
Oh, hold on. You have to tell us your Bolt story. We got rudely interrupted by Dave Henigan. So I wanted to hear your ambiguous "a bolt fell off my car" story.
Oh yeah. So there's bolts all over vehicles, and one of them that's behind my tire. I don't know exactly where, but heard a weird noise, got home eventually, and as I was braking, anytime I would brake, my car would just try to veer off to the right. Eventually got home. My dad and I got a flashlight out. We were able to took a little while, but we noticed that there was just a bolt missing. Don't know where it is, but we ordered a part, and I think I should have a running vehicle here in a
Are you going to put it together yourself?
Oh yeah, you just gotta take a not a screwdriver, but
save. If there's a bolt on there that just goes
power
on with
drill.
I was gonna say that goes on with just a screwdriver. I don't want that car. I don't want that.
I meant to say power drill, but
yeah. Oh man, so. So week 2 is fast approaching. We're less than 16 hours away. No, 18 hours away, somewhere around there. From kickoff. For week 2, like we said, we're going to be at Lake Dallas and Centennial. That'll be indoors.
Yep.
That's the pro move to do, even when it's in the high 90s, is to be indoors. So shout out to the Ford Center at the Star. Also shout out to Coach Thomas at Collins for hooking us up with season-long passes for that stadium. So we appreciate the support and the love that we get from the coaches, from the players, all of our followers. We're up over 1,000 on Twitter/X. We're getting more on Facebook. I don't know about Threads. I haven't even seen what the count is, but we're trying, man. We have our little corner of the internet and the recording audio visual space. We're trying to make this thing happen.
Real quick before we go, James Moody, shout out to you for saying some stuff in the chat. Actually, the tribe is he said the tribe's gonna let him know. So
that's gotta be a Sanger. Yeah.
So shout out to the Sanger fans for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. We love
you,
fans.
James. And the tribe is going to let them know this week. I forgot who they're playing this week, but they're good.
Ferris.
Ferris
Yellow Jackets.
We did talk about that for a minute. So the tribe is going to let them know.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're watching this on replay, we appreciate it. We're gonna put this back up later in the day, maybe tomorrow. And
whoa.
That came in super duper high.
That is not what it was supposed to do.
Come on, producer. Hit the theme,
Well, let's cut. All right.